Johnny Weschler.
Defense President Judge. Yes.
And where's your client?
That's right here. Right there, brother. Yes, Ray Lopez. I do have a blank order form if the court needs it.
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay.
Court is calling Night Mag number 747790, State of Texas versus Johnny Luis Weschler III. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Second for the state.
for the defense?
Ray Lopez for the defense.
And are you Mr. Weschler?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right, we're here on a defense's motion to modify bond conditions. State, have you had a chance to review the defendant's motion?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, any objections?
If I properly understand council's motion, we did talk about this, of course. It's essentially three parts, from partial to just tracking, waiving of a monthly fee, and then allowing him to reside in Pflugerville. Going in reverse order, I think council or the state has no objection to any type of transfer or anything with respect to Pflugerville. The state really, I told council, really don't speak to any waiving of fees. And then to the first part, the state would feel more comfortable with partial, so we're opposed in that sense. I know they're asking for tracking, but given the offense report, again, at this time, the state feels that partial is more appropriate.
All right, so let's start with fees. With fees, I'll ask that fees be waived, but I can tell you what's going to end up happening. They're not going to waive his fees because it's a third-party contract. But yes. But I will ask them to defer or waive fees, and we'll see what they do. There's supposed to be a monitoring device that is free. I have yet to see it, but they say there's a free one out there. All right, so the fees have been addressed. Now, with regards to the transfer, if he can still be monitored and transferred, the court will allow for transfer. So the next question is partial GPS versus tracking. State, why are you opposed to tracking?
I think given just the nature of the report, some of the aggressiveness asserted by the alleged aggressiveness exerted by the defendant on scene, and given some of the, the injuries with respect to the victim, that's why the state just feels more comfortable with tracking. We feel like it's a more robust measure of allowing this person to work and be a productive member of the community, but not necessarily just going to tracking normal.
All right, so defense, if he's given partial GPS, he would be allowed to work. So why are you requesting tracking?
Well, and we'll offer testimony, Your Honor. The partial GPS, he has, that's what he's on now. We'd like to switch to tracking. He's had it. It's affected his employment. It's affected his employment opportunities.
So
I could have him testify to that, Judge.
would you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, state your name for the record.
Johnny Weschler.
All right, you can lower your hand. All right, what is the issue with partial?
So with my employment, I've been in my job for 4 months. I've been very successful there. Started off as a dishwasher, and I just got a promotion to a maintenance technician. There's been plenty of missed opportunities to where they want me to stay late.
Oh, well, partial means that's partial for employment, so you can stay late for employment.
Yes, ma'am. But as far as I'm concerned with my pretrial officer, I'm only allowed the allotted hours that I'm given, X amount of hours that I'm given.
Now,
So if I
you have let me explain something to you. When it's partial for employment, the only thing that they're asking of you is they're asking for you to give them your work schedule. I understand sometimes when you work at restaurants, they'll give you one work schedule, then they'll ask you to stay late.
Yes.
You're allowed to stay late, but you'll need to send that information in to the pretrial service officers. All you have to do is leave a message. When you call and nobody answers, don't hang up. Leave a message that says your name, your SID number, or your case number, and let them know that you had to work late. And guess what? When they see your GPS signal, it will show that you're still at your work location. Now, if you tell them you have to work late and you're not at your work location, that's when there's going to be a problem. Every violation report comes to this court before somebody signs it, unless there's another judge sitting. But when they're not, they come to me, and your counsel will tell you, usually, unless it's something egregious, I always ask for us to have a hearing so we can figure out what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. And there's been a couple of times where I have stayed like maybe an extra hour or hour and a half late. And they did end up calling me. I got a call from a tracking officer
Mhm.
and he told me, you gotta go home. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do what you
No,
gotta do.
well, I'm
and go
telling you what
home."
I'm telling you.
And
And I will send your pretrial services officer an email letting them know that partial for employment means that he's allowed to work. And what they need to do is look at the GPS and see if you are actually at the location where you're supposed to be working.
okay,
Now, there's a different matter if they have you working at restaurant A and you tell the tracking people, oh, I'm working late and I'm at restaurant A. And then your employer sends you to restaurant B.
yes, ma'am.
That's where issues come in.
Okay, I understand. So that was just the issue. Just I was under the impression that I couldn't stay more than outside of what I was
No,
approved for.
You just
So,
have to call them and let them know.
yes, ma'am.
And Judge, he has been having other issues with the, which has prompted a request for tracking. One, he's had other employment opportunities that have paid more, had a better payment, but because he's on partial tracking, once that comes up, he's not been able to have those opportunities. So
Well, do they not do it by Zoom and over the internet? Because now you can't even seek employment at any of the convenience stores. You have to go online to do it. So is it something where he has an interview set up?
it's something where he's already kind of in the interview process. And once they find out that he's on partial tracking, that just kind of stops their
Oh.
desire to want to hire him, which is why he's requesting tracking so he can have better opportunities. He's had opportunities where he could get paid twice as much as he's had. now.
How is when they discover he's on GPS that
Partial.
that he's on partial GPS? And so they're like, no, we won't hire you. We would prefer you to be on tracking. I don't understand that.
I think there'd be less involvement from their end with the GPS thing, is at least what they've conveyed to him. Whether that's true or not, we don't know, but that's what the business has been conveyed to him. It's like, well, it's too much trouble for us if you're on partial GPS.
It's too much trouble for them. They just have to provide him with a work schedule. And even if he wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, if he wasn't on GPS, they still have to provide you with a work schedule. Like even for this job, I have to know what my work schedule is. And it's nothing for the government to say, hey, we're not going to give you your work schedule. I mean, everybody has to know what their work schedule is. Even when you're working at a fast food place, they may say, we're going to put the work schedule up for next week, at the end of this week. Everybody has a work schedule. Otherwise, how do we know when we're going to show up to work or we're supposed to be there?
If I may, Your Honor.
Sure.
There's a company called Airco and they do like air conditioning and electrical and things, plumbing. With those jobs, they do house like service calls. So you don't find out where you're going to that morning of, and it's a different house every day. And that was the issue that they had. Well, we can't really accommodate to giving you a heads up or a 24-hour notice in advance.
Mhm.
And that was the issue that they were having, is that it's too much for them to be able to want to comply with that.
No, I mean, they need to, even if you're doing AC and HVAC, which I don't understand why people are hiring people for AC and HVAC and people going into people's homes and not informing them of the people who are going into their homes. For example, the offense that you're charged with, I don't know anything about this. Everybody is presumed innocent.
Yes, ma'am.
However, it's an assault family second, which means you had a previous assault allegedly. And everybody is just letting people come into people's homes and nobody knows about anybody's background. And so let me just tell you why I'm going to keep the partial GPS as it is. Number one, I'm not saying anything is going to happen, but if nobody knows where you are, we're just doing tracking and you're just allowed to go wherever you want to go and something happens, you know whose fault that is? It's yours. But also it's me, because what the heck was I thinking, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the HVAC people, if they want you to be their employee, one, it's probably in your best interest to make sure they know about your history. And two, If they can only give you a 24-hour notice of where you're going to be, then again, all you have to do is call pretrial services, leave a message because sometimes they don't answer, and say, I just been told for my employment, this is the address I need to go to. And you better be at that address.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you can show your pretrial services officer the ticket saying that this is where I was sent for employment. Is that difficult? Am I?
No, ma'am.
All right.
But I do have other, if I may,
Mhm.
I have other things that I'd like to touch light on. As far as that, I just got enrolled into college as well.
I'm sorry,
I
what?
just got enrolled into college,
Mhm.
so I'm going to Texas State Technical College for industrial engineering. And I just would like to capitalize on the resources at campus if I'm able to go to like the library when I wanted.
That's what
Study groups. or-
Google is for the,
I don't- I
Google
don't
does
have
the
a laptop at
library.
home, Nothing like that. And I was
Cell
thinking,
phone?
I was just thinking other resources as far as like study groups, going to the lab. They have labs there for me to go and physically like hands-on learning and stuff like that. So I was just thinking I could capitalize on those as well.
Okay. I appreciate when people are trying to improve themselves,
Yes, ma'am.
but I always wonder, why do people always try to improve themselves once they're put on GPS and they're restricted? Then it's like, oh, I want to spend time with my child and take them to baseball games. And before, they never took their child to baseball
Yes,
games.
ma'am.
So, I mean, you're on partial GPS for employment. How long have you been on GPS?
It's going on 6 months.
All right. So I'm not the one who placed you on GPS, but the nature of your case, you should be on GPS. So it's going to be partial GPS for employment. I'll ask that the fees be waived or deferred. And once you are actually in your classes, I'm sorry, could I have your order, counsel? Once you are actually in your classes at college, then the court will reconsider any other requests.
Yes, ma'am.
And who is your pretrial services officer?
Miss Ashley Graciano,
I'm sorry, who?
Ashley Graciano,
How do you spell the last name?
Graciano.
All right, if there's no objection, I will send Ashley Graciano an email as it relates to his work schedule.
I also wanted to see if I was able to go to church too. In light of the situation, it's really opened my eyes to really want to get closer, I guess, to God and my religion. And I would like to attend church.
All right, I understand what you're saying, but here's the thing, again. And I understand people are trying to improve themselves,
Yes, ma'am.
but people always want to do extra things when they're on GPS that they never wanted to do before, like church.
Yes, ma'am.
They have online church.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm assuming you have a Bible?
I do.
There we go.
Understood. Yes, ma'am.
All right, is there anything else?
Nothing from the state.
No, nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank
And
you,
I will
Judge.
send the email to Ashley right now.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Yes.